Caitlin Clark returns Saturday after missing the past 5 games with a thigh injury, helped lead the Indiana Fever to a 102-88 victory over the New York Liberty. Now, it marked the first loss of the season for the defending WNBA champion Liberty, who are missing a starter, former Finals MVP, Jonquel Jones, who's dealing with an ankle. Clark scored 32, dished out 9 assists to become the first player in WNBA history to have 100 points, 30 rebounds, 30 assists in a player's first 5 games of a season. Our Rebecca Lobo was on the call for Saturday's game, kind enough to join us this morning. Rebecca, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey.
Oh, thank you. It was a fun day out in Indianapolis on Saturday.
Oh, there's a lot happening in Indy right now. Rebecca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
Well, I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous. I mean, I'm sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep three after deep three after deep three. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have, but not like that. Not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her. After being out for 19 days to recover from an injury, couple that with the other passes that she made and some of the other plays, it was just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this before.
Rebecca, first of all, it's wonderful to see you, and I got to tell you, I mean, I'll talk to you and complain about the WNBA not helping me out with tickets, okay, at a later date. I'll talk to you about that at a later date. Right now, let me focus on Caitlin, because the girl comes back, she does her thing, 32 points, 55% shooting, 7 of 14 from three-point range. I want to know, in your estimation, where do you rank her as a shooter in the WNBA, and considering her assist, where do you rank her as a player in the WNBA in just her first 1.5 seasons in the league?
Stephen, it's funny because I was listening to your last segment where you were talking about Steph Curry and you said he's the greatest shooter God ever created. On Saturday, Caitlin Clark certainly looked like that for the WNBA in terms of what she was able to do. As a player, she finished last year 4th in MVP voting. This is a player this year is second favorite right now in MVP, right behind Nafisa Collier. Last year she was the best guard in the league. So, in terms of the context of the history of the league, time will tell. But in terms of the impact she has had both on and off the court and one season plus, it's certainly right up there. We were talking with our crew after the game. We got at least 10 more years of watching Caitlin in her absolute prime. And it's so exciting. It's so fun to watch her. She's certainly the most exciting player, certainly the most fun player to watch in the league right now. And we're just going to see kind of her legacy continue to grow as she has more performances like we saw on Saturday. And again, time will show how long is it going to take her to get that Indiana Fever team to a WNBA championship.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Do you feel like this version, Rebecca, could get Indy to the finals, this version of Caitlin?
Could this version get Indy to the finals? They certainly look like a team on Saturday that could contend for a WNBA championship. Now, keep in mind, right now in the WNBA, we have 2 teams that only have 1 loss. That's the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. And both of those teams consistently have looked better than everybody else in the league. Both of those teams played in the finals a year ago. They have that experience. They have multiple superstars. They have more depth on their bench. So if every team stays healthy, New York and Minnesota are still the favorites to meet in the WNBA finals, but a Caitlin Clark-led Indiana Fever team like the one we saw on Saturday certainly could make things interesting along the way. And it is important to note that the New York Liberty were not only without Jonquel Jones, but Leonie Fibish, another important starter for them. So they weren't completely whole, but even if they were, the way Caitlin played, the way Indiana played, Indiana's probably still coming out with that victory.
If you listen to the reports, Rebecca, they looked at Caitlin Clark and they said when she was out over these 5 games with a quadricep injury, there was a diminished interest to some degree in the WNBA. I don't know how fair that is, but what I will ask you is this. Clearly, her return has obviously generated additional eyeballs. I have no doubt that the ratings are going to show as much. How receptive do you believe the WNBA is going to, I'm not talking about the league, but the players within the league are going to be towards Caitlin Clark moving forward now that we've seen what her absence, what kind of impact her absence provides?
You know, I don't know that the two things are necessarily related in terms of them recognizing what it was like in her absence. But there was a moment in that game on Saturday, probably my favorite moment of the game. And it happened late in the first quarter when Breanna Stewart was guarding Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark came down and cleared out the entire right side of the floor. You're going to see right here. Get out of here, guys. Get out of here. Breanna Stewart is a 6-time all-defensive player. They came down the floor after this moment, and they were just laughing with one another, having a great time with one another. You could tell that there was a tremendous amount of respect back and forth. There was another situation in the third quarter where Caitlin kind of cleared out the floor and went against Natasha Cloud, another elite defender historically in the WNBA. There seems like there's a lot of respect from the players. And I think last year you felt more of the players, really trying to do whatever they could to slow down Caitlin Clark. This year they're still doing that. I mean, she went one-on-one with a player in Natasha Cloud, who is one of the best guard defenders that we have in the league, and was able to get to the free throw line. So I think that there is definitely a respect for Caitlin Clark, mutual, going back and forth, but I absolutely loved kind of her moxie on that play, clearing out the floor, going one-on-one against Stewie.
9 career games with at least 50 points scored or assisted on, just one shy of Diana Taurasi for most in NBA history.